up, kids? David here with Solid X State. And tell you what, man, over the weekend I watched the film The Martian with Matt Damon. And it's not the first time that I've seen the movie, but I had some thoughts regarding the movie, things maybe that I haven't really considered in the context of this particular film. And it's to that effect that I thought I'd make a video of it, because it seems that some of the subject matter, some of the content seems applicable, seems reflective even of a conversation, certain conversations that we have in our culture even today. And so what is that? You know, what is it? What is that conversation in our culture? There's a lot of ways, I think, to say it. There's a lot of ways to unpackage it, to break it down. But for simplicity, let's just say that it is that conversation to be had around the idea of government and government's role in our lives. Maybe what it is that you would expect from government, what it is that you expect government to do, that your life, that your endeavors might come to fruition, that your happiness may come to fruition. What role does government play? And you know, this is almost a kind of binary, if you will, discussion, philosophically speaking, as regards the role of government. Binary in the sense that out of these ideas, out of these questions, you know, is sort of born the idea of the left and the right. In a simple sense, the left favors larger government intervention, a big brother, if you will, you know, to sort of navigate the issues of society, ultimately the issues of our lives, to one degree or another. And the right can be defined as being, you know, interested in smaller government intervention. That the right would kind of leave you to your devices, if you will. Think of it. That the right would leave you to your devices, for better or for worse. Would leave you to your devices, to that the fruition of your hopes truly rests in your own hands, that your future rests in your own hands. In a way, this is kind of the right and the left. There's nuance, there's more to it than that. But that's kind of a way of looking at it. How does this film depict this? Well, one of the things that I was thinking about is that everything that goes wrong in the movie really springs from NASA as the overseer, as sort of the the parent, the NASA serves as that overarching structure of organization and government, that they are that from them the space program originates. And yet in the movie, NASA seems to function recklessly. Many of the things that go wrong in the film that help push the plot along are really failures of the system, failures of NASA to There's almost a recklessness, if you will, to the decisions, to the situations that are created by NASA. And the individuals, Matt Damon in particular, are left, if you will, to pick up the pieces. You know, in the film, Matt is stranded on Mars. And in many ways, it's the fault of NASA. But needless to say, he's stranded on Mars, and NASA can't get him the help that he needs. And in their efforts to get him the help that he needs, they fail repeatedly. They're unprepared. It's almost like they're not suited for these types of needs. They're not made to they are not made to act. They are not in a position to customize their actions to meet a given need. They're not in a position to evolve with the circumstances, because they're this big, this big oversized organization, and they can't just pivot at will to do what needs to be done. It's like trying to steer a giant ship. It's like trying to turn the Titanic from hitting the iceberg, man. It's a big, slow process, and that's what NASA's like. And that, in a way, is kind of how the government is. You know, the government is this big, lumberous, vessel that sits really low in the water. And it takes a long time for it to track left or for it to track right. God help us if there's something in the way. So Matt Damon, man, the character in the film, he finds himself, it seems like, I think in the film his name is Mark. He finds himself in a position where he really has to rely on him. His fate is in his own hands. And what we find is that, really, when you watch the film, is that he doesn't survive because he's a brilliant botanist or because that he's a genius. He doesn't survive because he's this amazing scientist. He survives because he solves one problem at a time. He recognizes that he has to get up in the morning and he has to work at it. Each problem he will solve in succession, and each problem he will work at. And what we find is that in some instances, many days, many months go by as he tries to work out the issues, work out the mechanics of what challenges him, that he may ultimately overcome and survive and save, if you will, his life. Have, if you will, his life as a reward for his efforts. And so this, to me, is likened to this idea that all men are created equal. Endowed by God with inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And yet, to succeed in life, to achieve in life, it is really in our own hands to do it. What we see in the film is that NASA fails time and time again. Ultimately, to the end of the film, NASA fails to support, to prop up, to offer a solution. NASA is inept. NASA is incapable. NASA is burdened. NASA sits low in the water and cannot respond to the needs of the moment. So Matt must be his own effect. Matt must make his own choices. Matt must solve his own problems. And this, I think, is a message for living. We all, you don't have to be stranded on Mars to need to solve your own problems. You don't have to be lost in the desert. You don't have to be awash in crises to be in need of solving your own problems, of working out the issues of life one problem at a time, even to the effect that some things may take months to unpackage, to deal with, to discover their solution. This is how life is. To me, the film is reflective of life in this way, that this is how life is. You don't have to join NASA and be stranded on Mars to employ the effect of your own volition. Because each day, if you will, we are to some degree stranded in the midst of life. What will you do with your day? What effect will you have in the fruition of your life? In the book of Proverbs, chapter 24, starting in verse 30, it says, I passed by the field of the sluggard, by the vineyard of the man without sense. And lo, it was all overgrown with thorns. The ground was covered with nettles, and its stone wall was broken down. Then I saw and considered it. I looked and received instruction. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. Think of that. That want, that poverty can come against you like an armed man. I think that no doubt our lives have potential, and yet it is in our hands to work out the problems of living. It is in our hands to get up in the morning and work at it, even if it's just one small piece at a time, even if it's one small part of the puzzle. The Bible says, be faithful in small things. Work out those small things. Be faithful in small things. And then you can be faithful in greater things. But if you can't be faithful in what is small, man, if you can't be faithful in small things, what are you going to do with the bigger things in life? Because believe you me, man, the government's not going to be there to pull you out of your rut. All right. So that's it, man. That's my take on the Martian, Matt Damon, Ridley Scott film. I'll tell you what, if you dig this content, if you approve of this content, subscribe to this channel and like this video. And maybe YouTube will be bothered, God forbid, to get videos like this in the mix. But they probably won't. Probably subscribing to this channel and liking this video and commenting below probably won't do nothing, because I think YouTube is like NASA. YouTube is this big, lumberous vessel. It's up to us, man, to do something, forget about that algorithm. Who cares? Anyway, that's my vid, man. God bless. Take care. See you guys next time.